So let's see a difference between a for loop and a while loop. What I'm going to try to do is do a program that I haven't got a fixed amount, so I don't know how many I'm going to use. At the moment I'm using 10 here and 10 here, but let's say I wanted to just do it for 3, 4 times, 5 times, but I was uncertain as to the amount of times I would need it. So I'm not going to have count, so bear with me with this program. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the user to give me a value to actually multiply 2 by. So I don't care if I've got the same value twice or not. I'm just going to get a value from the user. Value equals input please enter a value, colon, and give myself a space, and while value is not equal to 0, so if I want to stop this loop at any particular time, I'm going to type in 0. This time I'm going to do print 2 times the value, so it's not going to give me the 2 times table, but it's going to give me 2 times whatever I type in. But what I need to do is, when I'm in the loop, is ask this question again. Otherwise it only asks it once, so I'm going to copy that, and I'm not going to increment my count. So there we go. So program 1 is going to ask me for a value. It's going to say while it's not 0, so while I haven't input a value 0, it's going to print out the 2 times the amount that I've typed in. Then it's going to ask me what it is again, and just to prove that I'm out of my loop, I'm going to print thanks. So this loop is going to run on this condition while value is not equal to 0. So let's save and run that one. Please enter a value, 2, let's give me 4. Please enter a value, 5, 10, 123. Going to keep going until I type 0, and then it's going to stop and say thanks. Now, if I try to write that same program using a for loop, I have a problem. Because it's counting in the range, there's no way that I can easily think of doing it. The only thing I can do is just probably have a really large number to sort of imply that I'm going to do it forever. And then, well, let me just copy this line of code. I'm going to ask the user to input the value, and then I'm going to print out the value, times 2, and that's just going to run for 100,000,000 times, so it's going to look like it's doing the same one that I've got here. But I've got no way of thinking about how to stop this loop from working, because it's just going to count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and run through. But I can break out of my loop. The problem is that I'm going to have to look at whatever they've typed in here and then do an if statement. If value is equal to 0, then break. And notice that the keyword break is highlighted in orange. So if it isn't 0, it's going to print it out. But it's going to run this many times. It's not sort of based on any sort of condition of me typing 0. It's sort of fictitious. So if I run my program this time, please enter a value. Let's do exactly the same ones. 4, 10. Oh, that was 5. Let's put 5 in. Let's put 1, 2, 3 in, and finally a 0. And there we go. It breaks out of the loop. So really, I should have put another line of code here. Print thanks. And I can run my program again. So we'll see this work. This time I'll type in the correct values. So I started off with 2, then 5, then 10. So 2 and 5 and 10 and 1, 2, 3 and finally a 0, and it prints thanks. So now these two loops appear to be doing exactly the same thing. And I mean appear. So if I actually change this value here, so it only ran 3 times. Okay, so now I've got a loop which runs 3 times. And if I did the same thing again with the same values, it's not going to do what we expect it to do. So please enter a value. So it was 2, and then it was, let's do 4, let's do 5, and it's already out of the loop, and I haven't typed 0. So there is a difference. This one is never ever going to just drop out of the loop for any reason. It really requires you to type in a 0 to finish the loop, whereas this one, notice we've got lots of code with it. It's the least elegant solution. If you remember back to the last one, we only had 2 lines of code versus several lines of code. This time this one is having more lines of code because we're trying to base it on a condition. If value is equal to 0, and there's no easy way to do that in a for loop, because a for loop is a counting loop. This is a conditional loop, a counting loop. So you need to know which one you need to use in your program to be best. So if you're counting, I would use a for loop. If you're unsure and it could go on forever, but then again you might only have 1 or 2 things, it's based on the condition, then you use a while loop. But I do want you to notice one very important feature here. In both programs that we've done, not these two, but the 2 programs that we did before, and these 2, that we can do exactly the same code. We can mimic each loop. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which loop you use, it's going to work somehow. It's just that in one, you're going to have an inelegant solution to an elegant solution. So that's the difference between them. For loop is going to be very powerful, and I'm going to show you that in the next video. We're going to go back to what we were doing with the names in a table.